Vladimir Putin just told his entire nation that they now serve Black Jesus. Stop what you're doing, download this video, and share it on every social media site you can find, because this shit just got crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, people of Russia, today we stand on the precipice of a monumental revelation, a moment that redefines not only our understanding of history, but also the path forward for our great nation. In an extraordinary discovery hidden beneath centuries of lore and legend, we have opened what can only be described as the oldest vault known to mankind. What we found within its ancient confines challenges the very fabric of our beliefs and heralds a new dawn for our country. Within this vault, we discovered figures of biblical proportions, characters that many have read about, debated, and revered. These figures, preserved against the sands of time, reveal a truth that is as profound as it is transformative. They are all black. This revelation, this undeniable truth, stands before us not as a contradiction to our faith, but as a testament to the diversity and unity that faith embodies. As your president, I see this moment not as a challenge to our beliefs, but as an opportunity to embrace a wider, more inclusive understanding of our history and spirituality. Russia, in its rich tapestry of cultures, traditions, and peoples, is uniquely positioned to lead the world into this new era of understanding and acceptance. From this day forward, let us proclaim our nation under the guidance of Black Jesus, a figure who represents not just the cornerstone of Christian faith, but also a symbol of the universal values of love, compassion, and brotherhood. This Black Jesus, whose likeness and history have been unveiled from the oldest vault, is a message to us all that divinity knows no color, that spiritual truth transcends race, and that our common humanity binds us more tightly than our differences divide us. Let this discovery remind us that history is not just the story of those who wield power, but also of those whose contributions have been overlooked or forgotten. It challenges us to re-examine what we know, to question our assumptions, and to open our hearts to the broader possibilities of understanding and faith. As we embark on this journey of discovery and understanding, let us do so with open minds and compassionate hearts. Let us build a nation that truly reflects the teachings of Black Jesus, a nation that stands for justice, equality, and love for all, regardless of race or creed.
If this doesn't literally blow your mind and solidify to you what is solidified to me, I don't know what to say. Putin serves no benefit by telling the world that Jesus was Black. And this is the first time in history that we've seen rulers announce to the public that Jesus was Black. What are your thoughts? I want to hear what everyone has to say.
What I'm about to show you is the most shocking discovery I've made in my truth journey. The true name of God has been removed from our Bibles over 6,000 times, and that name is Yahuwah, represented by the Tetragrammaton YHWH, which translates to the numerical sequence of 10565. The name of God, YHWH, repeats over and over in your DNA. The shortened version of his name is Yah. We see this in Psalm 68 verse 4. Sing unto God, sing praises to his name. Extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Jah. But guess what? The letter J was only invented 500 years ago. If we go to the original Hebrew for Jah, it is Yah. Right, and we know Jehovah is a false translation because Hova in Hebrew translates to ruin, disaster, and calamity. Who's the one that comes to kill, steal, and destroy? Destruction. It's Satan. What did Satan say in his heart? He said, I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. He wants to take over God's position, which is what got him cast out of heaven and why he's so angry now. He's going to try to deceive all of us. The name Yah is also written on your face. Y-A-H. You also say the name Yahuwah every single time you breathe. Alright, he breathed into Adam's nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Your bronchial breath, the inhale and exhale, and the inhale and exhale of the vesicular breath are both represented by a 3-to-1 ratio. Alright, Psalms 150 verse 6, let everything that has breath praise Yahuwah. You're saying his name every time you breathe and you don't even know it. Alright, we know it's not Yahweh because the breath is a 3-to-1 ratio. Yahuwah. Not a 2-to-1 ratio. The name Yahweh is a false pagan god. You can look this up. Yahweh is literally a pagan goddess. It's all over the internet. It's a pagan deity. It's basically just yet another deception from Satan. So the YHWH was actually removed and changed to Lord over 6,000 times in the Old Testament. So every time you see Lord, it was originally his name, Yahuwah. Right, the YHWH. Which looks like this. So this name YHWH, Yahuwah, was changed and removed and translated to Lord 6,000 times in the Old Testament. This is due to the ineffable name doctrine from the devil. Right, this is basically a doctrine given to the translators that is said that we should not pronounce his name because it's too holy to be uttered. But that would actually destroy the third commandment. You do not bring the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim, to nothing or to naught. For Yahuwah does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught or to nothing. That's what it actually means to take the Lord's name in vain, is bringing it to nothing, which is what Satan did. Really not supposed to be saying Jesus or Jehovah. The J was invented 500 years ago. Now, what does this name actually mean? If you translate his name into Hebrew, and remember they read right to left, it states, behold, hand, behold, nail. Or in other words, behold the nails in the hand. Right, so the Most High's name literally prophesies the death of our Messiah long before it happened. Remember, Satan hates this name, right? Because what did the death and resurrection of Messiah do? It gave us power as believers, right? And it also gave us salvation and gave us entry to Yah's kingdom. Right, the true name of the Son, and it's not Jesus, it's Yahusha. Shah in Hebrew means salvation, so this translates to Yah is salvation. Remember what Messiah said in John 5:43. I have come in my Father's name, and you have not received me. But if someone else comes in his own name, you will receive him. Right, he came in the Father's name, Yahuwah, because Yahusha means Yahuwah is salvation. But we are all praying to Jesus, which means Jehovah is salvation. We know Hova means destruction, ruin, and calamity. So we should not be praying to that name. Right? This is due to Hellenization, right? Which is Greek influence. But the original name is Yahusha of the Son, which means Yah saves. But the Greeks transliterated it to Jesus, which is false. We don't change people's name. Especially when he told us in Exodus 3 verse 15, Yahuwah, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my remembrance to all generations. He said this is his name forever and his memorial to all generations. Imagine I went to your gravestone, your memorial, and scratched off your name and changed it, or transliterated it. It's ridiculous. Now remember, every time it was supposed to say YHWH, it was translated to Lord 6,000 times. Now, I understand the word Lord is a term for the Most High. But if you go into the Hebrew, Baal translates to Lord. Right, so Satan has basically taken out God's name, brought it to nothing, which violates the third commandment. It has us all saying these Greek Hellenized transliterations of the true name. And guess what? His name is actually in the older Bibles. This is the 1560 Geneva. Yahuwah. Right? That's how it's said in Greek. Right, but what did they do? They even changed that to Jehovah in all the newer Bibles. If y'all want a part 2 on this series, let me know. I got a lot to say. This was a very hard one for me to accept. It had to take a lot of praying and research. But he's given me peace on it now, and he's given me lots of confirmation. May Yah bless you guys. Don't forget to like and follow. Shalom, which means peace in Hebrew.
They said they're making their sacrifice to God. You need to understand when you go to the H1408 Strong Concordance, God is a pagan term because God is equated to the word Gad, and Gad is a Babylonian deity, right? And it's basically a Babylonian deity because it's also connected to the fact that Lord and Baal are basically one and the same, God and Gad. So now Baal, Gad is the god of fortune, which is equated to Satan. Because when you go to the book of Enoch, the word Gad is the prefix of the word Gandriel. Gandriel is the galactical title for the word Satan. So now it goes right here. Jeremiah 26, how long is there in the hearts of the prophets who prophesies falsehood, even these prophets in deception of their own? Forget my name, the dream. So that's why I said there's a diametrical difference between God and the Most High. Stop saying God, because when you say God, you're saying Gad. When you're saying Gad, you're saying Gandrel. When you're saying Gandrel, you're saying Satan. When you're saying Satan, you're saying Baal. When you're saying Baal, you're saying Moloch. Because you got to understand the inception points of where monotheistic religion came from. It came from Greco-Roman culture. Anything that deals with Greco-Roman culture is basically a derivative that came from ancient Babylon, right? So this is all the red heifer ritualistic.
Listen, true name is God. We are not supposed to be calling upon the name God, and I'm going to show you. So I'm reading from the book of Enoch, which was removed from our Bibles. This is referring to a type of angels and their names. And the third was named Godriel, or shortened would be God. He it is who shown the children of men all the blows of death, and he led astray Eve. So this is literally talking about Satan, the one who led astray Eve, right, in the garden. His true name is Godriel, which shortened would be God. Now if you go on Google and you type in God definition, you'll see this little name pop up next to it, G-A-D, God. The same way it's pronounced in Enoch, with that little vowel point above the A. Now look at this. Baal God means Lord of Fortune. Why do you think on the back of our money it says, in God we trust? It's not talking about the Most High of the Bible.
Right.
It's a reference to Satan, the evil one.
Knowledge is power.
Now check this out. Every time you see Baal in the scriptures, it actually is just the Hebrew word for Lord. Right. So we're not supposed to be calling him Lord either. All right, go into the Blue Letter Bible, click on Baal, and you will see it literally means Lord, which is the name they planted over the name Yahuwah 7,000 times in the scriptures.
That's right.
Every time you see in all caps the Lord, it was originally his name.
That's right.
Yahuwah. If you don't believe me, go fact check me. I have studied to show myself approved.
That's right.
I'm just revealing to you guys what I have found. Don't shoot the messenger. Now remember what I said, we're not supposed to be calling him Lord because it actually means Baal. Go to Jeremiah 23 verse 27, whose true name is Yirmiyahu, who attempt to cause my people to forget my name for Baal.
All praises.
Or Lord. Remember guys, Satan is literally the father of lies.
That's right.
Look at this. However, the word Baal means Lord. Look it up. A proper terminology would be Elohim or Elohim. It means mighty one. But we should really be calling upon his name. Now, I can confidently say that the Most High knows our hearts. Right? And he is abundant with grace and mercy. But now that you have this information, do your research on the name of Yahuwah and pray about it. Alright, don't treat this pearl like a swine. You all need to study to show thyself approved, right? That is a duty that we all have.
That's right.
So don't just push this aside and continue to say God. Go do some research and prayer. I'll see y'all in the next one. Don't forget to
The Holy Trinity as you've never seen before, the secret reincarnation of Jesus Christ as the Buddha, Satan walking among us. These are just 3 of the shocking topics in today's video that are going to change your perception of religion. The Mesopotamian Trinity. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Even if you're not religious, you're likely familiar with the Holy Trinity. But what if I told you that the Holy Trinity is a lie? The original Holy Trio were Anunnaki gods from ancient Mesopotamia. Anu, Enlil, and Enki were the 3 points that made up the original Holy Trilogy. Anu was the god of the sky, father of the gods, and ruler of the heavens. Enlil was the lord of the wind, king of the gods, and father of the moon. Enki was the son of Enlil, lord of the earth, prince of heaven, and the savior of mankind. In the Mesopotamian version of the Holy Trinity, Anu was God, Enki was Jesus, and Enlil was the Holy Spirit. Anu was one of the earliest gods worshipped by the Sumerians. His name has been discovered in pieces of cuneiform writing from the earliest dynastic period in 2900 BC. He operated as the omnipotent ruler of everything until he passed the job down to his son, Enki. Much like how the New Testament focuses primarily on Jesus, the old Sumerian religious writings focused heavily on Enki, the Holy Son. Keep in mind that there are some big differences between the 2 characters. Enki wasn't a carbon copy of Jesus. He was more of a godly figure, whereas Jesus was a prophet and the son of God. According to Sumerian legend, Enki was the creator of humanity. He founded the city of Eridu, believed to be the first city in Mesopotamia. The founding of the city resulted in the start of humanity. Eridu has been directly connected to the myth of the Garden of Eden, with each place acting as the starting point for human civilization. What Enki and Jesus had most in common was that they were teachers. Enki came down to earth to create humans and share with them his knowledge of the afterlife. Jesus also shared his knowledge of heaven and eternal salvation. Many aspects of Jesus Christ definitely came from Enki, who was a god thousands of years before the New Testament was ever written. Enlil, the 3rd member of the Holy Trinity, didn't start out as a particularly important deity, but as Sumerian culture evolved, he was promoted to rule alongside Anu and Enki. Enlil was in possession of the Tablets of Dynasty, which gave him incredible power over space, time, and the human race. Enlil was the one who summoned the flood to kill off humanity. Just like in the Bible, the flood wiped out everyone except one man and his family. Utnapishtim was warned about the flood by Enki, who didn't want his precious humans going extinct.
There are people who believe they're the direct descendants of these beings and that they have the right to rule over human beings still to this very day. And they came from Nibiru, they got down to earth, and this is about 450,000 years ago according to the tablets. The Anunnaki, who are also the Atlanteans, that's the same people. The Atlantean is the civilization, Anunnaki means those who came from heaven to earth. And they started off with this cloning system at first. So Isis says, I have an idea. She says, I'm going to take an egg from one of the women, and they took the egg, and she cleaned out some of the genetic material. They added some of their essence to the egg. They put it in her womb. She took it the term 10 months, and then you see her in this famous cylinder scroll holding up this baby saying, my hands have created it. She gave birth to the Adamu, which means first man. So they put Adam in this Eden, E-D-I-N, and this Eden was this laboratory where they would have these mating rituals between the different peoples. And when they got Adam in there, they tried to mate him with these other ones. They made Eve, they mated them, and bingo, it worked. Crazy story, that was about 200,000 years ago. They also genetically modified us by taking chromosome number 2 out of our body, fusing it together, and putting telomere caps on each end to limit our lifespans. And scientists now, geneticists at universities, they teach this. They say, we don't know how this happened. It's an artificial mutation that would have taken millions of years to happen, but it happened about 200,000 years ago. So the tablets line up with modern science. And so it's the foundation of a high-level civilization. When we got to one of the highest advanced civilizations, which started out in Sumer, and then migrated over into the land of Kemet before it became Egypt, the initial pharaohs would be a direct bloodline of one of these Anunnaki people. When they relocated home base to the land of Kemet, they rebuilt the land of Kem out of the mud because there was a great flood. At this dawn of this new era, 36,000 years ago, the gentleman who started this, his name was Thoth, T-H-O-T-H. And he's known as a wisdom keeper. He's known all over the entire world, but he ruled over the land of Kemet for 14 or 16,000 years, roughly thereabout, according to the ancient Egyptians. And then he left there and went to Mesoamerica and kickstarted the Teotihuacan in Mexico City. That was all his master architectural plan. And Teotihuacan is part of his African name, which is also known as Tahuti. And Teotihuacan in Mexico really means the city of Tahuti that he built out there. So he left there, and that's why the pyramid complex there mirrors the one at Giza in Africa. Akhenaten is King Tut's father. So Akhenaten decided, I'm going to become a monotheistic ruler and not the kind of believes in multiple gods. And what got into him was Amun-Ra, who's also Thoth's brother. And he told Akhenaten that you worship me and you get everyone to worship me and deface all the other gods. That's why he was kicked out of Egypt. He went to the Great Pyramid and he went to that stone box area inside the king's chamber and took Ark of the Covenant with him. See, Akhenaten is Moses. That's the Moses story. They ended up in the desert with the Ark of the Covenant, which is well noted and documented in biblical text. A super advanced technological machine. It was multi-purposeful. What it was capable of doing, it's a weapon, but it also has the capability of being a power source. The Great Pyramid itself is a power generator. It was built on top of an aquifer, and the water running underneath the Great Pyramid, it creates physiostatic electricity. Those ions would get pushed up into the Grand Gallery, and they had resonating rods in the slots going up the Grand Gallery. When it got to the king's chamber, some other type of fusion would happen, and it would then send the energy up through the apex, and the apex, which is now missing, would then transmit it out wirelessly to the obelisk, which then collect this ambient electricity. And if you had a JED, you can pick up this ambient wireless electricity. You can see the JED connected to light bulbs and so forth, like a Nidera. I knew it wasn't a sarcophagus, but it's the same exact, I measured it. It's the same exact dimensions as what? The Ark of the Covenant. So when Akhenaten took that, he took the power source for Egypt. As time continued to go by, and they began to then handpick specific people to do specific things, and they would then create these genetically modified or bloodline people. Yeshua was one of them. He was a chosen one to bring a certain level of Christ consciousness, which existed before Jesus Christ.
Listen, because there are a ton of hidden messages in the El Salvador president's speech. Look.
For instance, the financial situation of the United States. When I talk to my conservative friends right here, they always tell me that the problem is high taxes. But they're wrong. Of course, high taxes are extremely high here in the United States. I give you that. You're right in that. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is not the high taxes themselves, but the fact that they are not even really funding the government. But even those high taxes, higher than a lot of places in the world, not even those taxes are really funding the government. So who's financing the government? Government is financed by treasury bonds, paper. And who buys the treasury bonds? Mostly the Fed. And how does the Fed buy them? By printing money. But what backing does the Fed have for that money being printed? The treasury bonds themselves. So basically, you finance the government by printing money out of thin air. Someone could ask, well, so if the government can print unlimited amounts of money out of thin air, why did they collect taxes? I mean, in theory, it would make sense, right? If they can print unlimited amounts of money, why would they need taxes for? The answer is simple, but it's very shocking. The real problem is that you pay high taxes only to uphold the illusion that you are funding the government, which you are not. It's shocking, but it's true. The government is funded by money printing, paper backed with paper, a bubble that will inevitably burst. The situation is even worse than it seems, because if most Americans and the rest of the world were to become aware of this farce, confidence in your currency would be lost, the dollar will fall, and the Western civilization with it. If the next president of the United States doesn't make the necessary policies and structural changes, sooner or later that bubble will burst. There's still time. You don't have to make the same mistakes we did in the 60s and the 70s. You can still jump before the water beats.
Go ahead. Well, so what I think is important to note is that just about every county right now is trying to steal your land. Not just trying, they did. And they usually do it through tacit, non-consensual agreements. So when you signed or you registered to vote here, when you signed a marriage certificate, when you signed your children into the hospital, when you signed their birth certificate, when you signed your driver's license, all of these things are scams to not only steal everything that you own, your entire estate, your children, and your land. No, the way that they've actually stolen the land is quite fascinating. They just created an overlay of zip codes, then they claimed them. But the thing about it is they can't claim your land. Land can only be passed from one sovereign to the next. It cannot be passed to a foreign corporation. So what they're doing is they're claiming your land because you haven't, and that way when you die, they can take it from your heirs. So that's why we need to get a little smarter about operating in the private, setting up our own private trusts, and claiming our land. It's like far and away. All you need is a bunch of little, white flags and some posts so you can get your meets and bounds, and then you can claim your land, and therefore you can then pass it on to your heirs. So one of the things we're doing immediately for
born. The birth certificate is the original bill of ladling on your new vessel. Your mom sends it to the United States of America, and a new trust is created, which is documented on a certificate of birth. Your original certificate of birth is a bond. It is a financial instrument, and the original is sent to the Depository Trust Company, 55 Water Street, New York. This is the richest holdings company in this realm. If you could get your original back from them, you'd find it covered on the back with bank stamps. The certificate of birth is a commercial document. I had an aha moment when I found my mom's certificate of birth. It is labeled United States of America and is correctly titled by the Department of Commerce. It is a commercial document. It is with her and my dad's marriage certificate and certificate of marriage, two documents that show that the marriage took place in two jurisdictions simultaneously, the public and the private. If you want to give the government jurisdiction over something, register it. If you want to put something on public record, record it. So what would happen if, instead of applying begging for a certificate of birth and entering into a trust relationship with the government, with what they identify as property, your children, you instead recorded the birth, taught your kids how to operate as a private, natural person, and let them decide if they wanted to give the government jurisdiction over a trust they use to operate in commerce, what is commonly called the straw man. Follow for the next sovereignty.
Told you can reverse the aging process. Would you believe them? That's exactly what this man is about to reveal in this video that I'm about to show you. Pay close attention to what he's about to say, because you're not going to want to miss this.
Scientists put more of these genes in a yeast cell or a mouse, they tended to live longer. And it is believed that these genes are responsible for the effects of diet and exercise. And what the doctors realize is that they can now mimic that process with molecules, and NMN is one of those. So recommended dosage is 1,000 milligrams. Studies show that taking at least 1,000 milligrams a day is enough to double your NAD levels in your bloodstream. And the younger you are, the higher your NAD levels are, and they decrease over time. So if you're able to double it or triple it at an older age, you're essentially...
So he's talking about NAD, which is a form of energy found in every cell in our body that we all need to even live as human beings. It is extremely vital for converting our food into energy, and it's super helpful for repairing DNA in our cells. So this also helps with your skin's health and can even reduce things like wrinkles or dry skin. And like he said, the older we get, the less NAD we produce. So if you supply your body with NAD, you would basically reverse the aging process. But the craziest part is if you pair this with other compounds like quercetin or resveratrol, not only will this help with reducing wrinkles and dry skin, but this will boost your energy levels and tremendously improve clarity and focus. And the reason you haven't heard about this is because your doctors are profiting off of you being old and sick and will rather prescribe you some placebo medicine to keep you coming back. That's why I linked a potent blend of all three of these natural supplements on this TikTok shop button below so that you can start being in control of your own health.
Electrocoagulation, tap water. We've got smart water made by Coca-Cola. Evian. Distilled water, straight from the distiller, distilled last night. electrocoagulation apparatus. You see the bubbling start straight away. This is breaking the electrical bonds between the substances in the water. It's going to reveal them and tell us more about the water. We've done a pH test and a ppm test on all waters. So we've got pH of the tap water 7.4, the smart water 7.2, the Evans 7.4, and the distilled water 7.1. And the ppm, parts per million, tap water 276, smart water 225, Evian 265, and the distilled water 002. It's usually 000, but it picks up carbon dioxide as soon as it comes into the jug and it absorbs it. So as you can see, the smart water is getting really dark, the tap water's also getting very murky. And as we can see, all the sediments in the water that are being revealed, this is what fills up our bodies. It gets in all in our tissue, in between our joints, causes arthritis later on in life, and all different problems and conditions, and leads to diseases. And to hydrate ourselves, we want to be drinking water that can go into the cells. These waters, they can't hydrate us properly because the molecules are all clumped together. And hydration is one of the #1 causes of conditions and diseases. Right, so that's getting hot now. I'm going to turn the machine off. Let's let that one go on for a little bit longer. And as we can see, the colours have been revealed. We've got black for smart water, which is basically pure heavy metals, zinc, lead, copper, manganese, cadmium. So it's just filled with heavy metals. The tap water is slightly blue and green, so we've got bacteria, viruses, carcinogens, organic phosphorus, fertilisers, detergents and pesticides, and with the green as well as arsenic, mercury, lead, copper and sodium. So all them poisons, and this is what we feed our families, our kids, our babies, you know, mixing it in with everything. So we've got all these problems. Mercury is like one of the most poisonous things you can possibly have. Arsenic's a poison. We've got bacteria, pathogenic bacteria in the water. Let's turn this one off now. Right, we can see the Evian is slightly yellow and I would say a little bit off green, so it's got lots of organic minerals in there. Other organics, possible fluoride, silicon compounds, and some heavy metals, arsenic, mercury, lead and copper and sodium. And as you can see, the distilled water having no parts per million in there is totally clear, and really this should prove a point to get on the distilled water. Hydrate yourself, cleanse yourself and treat your body and your families.
It's said that this girl went missing back in 2001 after recording this video where she placed 2 mirrors together and something really strange happened.
Something really strange going on here, and if something ends up happening to me, I just hope that this video can maybe explain it. Okay, so I have these 2 mirrors in my room. As you can see, they're pretty normal looking mirrors, but I was cleaning and I had them kind of set up like this, and I noticed something really weird. Just watch. See, when you look through the mirror into the other one, it becomes like a window.
I don't know if people know this or not, but facing 2 mirrors together is something you just shouldn't do, and it's said to open portals or bring in really bad energies or spirits. Sometimes good, but usually bad.
And there's this huge warehouse, grocery store or something down there. But wait, it gets even crazier. Watch this. for the moment of truth. 3, 2, 1. Whoa.
People believe that she entered the back rooms and she's an SPC now.
What the hell? What is this place? Hello? 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 How far does it go?
The biggest creature to ever exist frozen in Antarctica, and it is still alive. Just a week ago, a team of NASA scientists were on their way to Antarctica in order to find meteorite samples for studying. After the team arrived, they began setting up camp, and when the next day had come, they set out. I advise you to save this video before it gets censored. In the first 3 hours, the team only encountered several small meteorite fragments, which, while interesting, did not constitute significant findings. However, shortly thereafter, one of the members reported seeing an enormous hole in the distance. The group made their way over and could not believe it. At first, they thought that it was a huge meteor crater, but when they went down, there were no meteorites. It was an ice cave. That's when one of the members saw something impossible. He pointed his flashlight directly next to them and found something like never before. The imposing figure of a megalodon, its gaze seemingly piercing through time itself, encased within the ice. They were shocked. As nothing like this has ever been found, the team then immediately began running tests on the creature and found its blood to still be flowing. One of the scientists explained that this means in the right conditions, this creature could be brought back to life from its frozen state. So apparently the megalodon is currently in Area 51 and the team is attempting to bring it back to life. If you want to see the photos that scientists took in this cave, follow this account, click here on more.
It's only, yes, definitely a male face. There's the moon again. I'm gonna zoom up closer. There. See this face by the moon that everybody's talking about? See this camera? It's not a phone. Kodak. I'm not cutting away. You can't put no app on it, so there's not a trickery. I'm not going to turn away. I'm going to walk out this door slow as can be without cutting away. Hey, come on out here so you can see this face by the moon, because I can see it again without cutting away. Look, yeah, you out here too. Look at the face. You see it?
Yeah.
All right. There it is. I haven't cut away.
In front of it?
Yeah, hold up. Turn on
Mist light?
hold up. Here we go. Zooming in. Zooming in. Zooming in. Zooming in. There it is. We can see it on the camera. Y'all see it?
I think it looks like a mist, but I guess it's clouds.
There it is.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's it right there.
Face.
And I'm trying to be still. Yeah. It's got cracks in it. It's looking down.
It looks angry.
Yeah, looks angry. It's looking down at us right now. Let me zoom out. Let me zoom out. Yeah, he's looking. And I think I got this thing down. It's full moon. Full moon. What's today's date?
24th.
24th? There he is, see? And that moon itself looks off.
It makes me want to go inside. Look at the background behind it.
Yeah.
It looks like concrete.
Yep. Say, a lot of people say it's stuck in the firmament. I'm going to zoom back out without taking my eyes off this moon. That's what it looks like. Some people say he's stuck in the firmament in the water. It's only, yes, definitely a male face. There's the moon again. I'm going to zoom up closer. There it is. Yep. Now y'all see this, right? I'm not moving a lot. This is not an app. Once again, we caught it. You should go outside on the full moon and catch this thing.
Oh yeah, you can see it.
Catch that thing. Catch it. That's it. Call somebody. See if we can get the town to catch this face. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna stay out here all night. You know what? I should go live. Yeah, I can't go live with this camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off here.
Babe, you should come inside.
Yeah. Well, running from it ain't gonna do anything.